I swear my therapist is so tired of being like, Samantha, people cannot read your mind. And I am just like, but why though? But why? My thoughts are so loud, I feel like other people can hear them, whether I am sitting next to you or we're on the phone, opposite ends of the globe. I don't understand why I'm sitting here internally screaming, I love you, I'm your favorite person ever, and you don't hear it. What's wrong with you? And she's like, because you didn't say it out loud. And I'm like, well, I never said I was sane, but also, why can't you guys just read my mind? Why?
I'm not here to sugarcoat, life's already a bumpy road. Too much shelter causes pain, let's just be real honest. Things are gonna knock you down, avoidance will not help you out. Let's talk it through here, me and you, let's keep it real honest.
Hi, welcome to Real Honest, the podcast where I share candid thoughts and feelings about life, love, and relationships, God and church, adulting, the workplace, and all the things in between. I am your host, and my name is Samantha, and you probably will not always like me, but I'll always be honest with you. The central theme in my life right now is communication, which is why today's episode is titled after, oh, a simple complication of miscommunications lead to fallout. Because it's literally everywhere. It's with friends, it's with family, it's at work, and I'm just walking around like, am I speaking Greek? What's going on? Like, why is I'm not understanding anything that you're saying, you're not understanding anything that I'm saying, and like, I don't want to do it anymore. It's exhausting. But to kick off with what I'm learning from God right now in the communication realm is to always put it back on me. Like every time somebody says something, and whether I'm angry because I don't understand, I guess I should explain. I feel like I hate to be confused. There's something about being confused that makes me angry. I think it's because it makes me feel dumb. It like takes me back to I was really bad at math and science growing up, and no matter, like, there was no amount of tutoring or extra help that ever helped me. Like, I was the type of kid that, like, either I understood it or I didn't. And if I didn't understand it and I went to the teacher after school and I got tutoring and I got extra help, I still did not understand that chapter in the math book. And I just happened to understand enough chapters that I could pass the class, and then it didn't matter. But so I always felt really dumb and I would always be really confused. And I just had like assholes of math teachers who like I would try to explain this to them, and after I would fail a test, they'd be like, "Why don't you come in for help?" And I'd be like, "Because I've tried this in other classes and other years. Like it doesn't help me. I just don't get it. Like I just can't grasp some parts of math. Like I don't know what to tell you." And they'd be like, "Well, you'd be performing better if you would come in for help." And then I would go in for help with that actual teacher that said I needed help, that was super rude to me, and then they would try, and I multiple times would be like, "Wow, you really just don't get it." And then like the next 3 chapters I would do fine at, and there were just like certain concepts that I couldn't grasp. And so it's just the same kind of thing where like I'm having a conversation with somebody, and if I have to keep asking them for clarification and I'm just not understanding what they're saying, I feel like chastised and dumb, and that makes me really uncomfortable. But so a lot of times I get angry, and I think I'm either angry with myself for not understanding, or I'm angry with the other person for not listening to me. Like I feel like typically if I have to repeat myself or like over explain something, I feel like it's because they weren't paying attention when I said it the first time. And then that really upsets me because I feel like they don't love me and they don't pay attention or whatever it is. And so I feel like the Holy Spirit always whispers like, let's just focus on you. Like, you're the one who's mad right now. So what can you do differently? Like, you think they're not listening to you. Are you listening to them? Are you really listening? Are you really trying? Maybe you're not in the space to try. Like, maybe you need to take a break and like walk away and try to do this conversation later. But it's really like pausing and asking myself, like, what is the root of what I'm feeling right now? A lot of times I think it's fear. I think it's like whenever there's a misunderstanding between two people, I think there's a fear of like, we're never going to get on the same page. and I don't want to do the work of trying to get on the same page if that's just going to be an uncomfortable conversation and we're not going to end up where we want to be, then I'm like, well, let's just opt out. Like, let's just not even bother. Moving into the goals portion, I did just have a meeting with my beta readers last night now that the book has been finished and they've had the entire novel to read. And it was a little frustrating because nobody read the third act, which was very short. It wasn't even a lot of pages. But in their defense, I had put Act 1, Act 2, and Act 3 in 3 separate documents. They're all in the same Google Drive folder, which I did send them a link, but they were in 3 separate documents, and Act 2 was the longest. So we had multiple meetings about different parts of Act 2, where like I wrote Act 2 in kind of different stages. And even though I sent them an email that said Act 3 is complete and like here's the link to it, a lot of them I had probably flagged or bookmarked or starred, whatever, the Act 2 file. And so they went into there. And I think what happened was I finished Act 2 and also wrote Act 3, and they were expecting them to all be in the same document. So that was a little frustrating because I thought it was clear, but okay, it wasn't. That's not, I need to not always blame other people. But beyond that, I think I was a little frustrated because I know I've mentioned on here before that like my beta readers are not writers. So their job is not to help me with ideas or like tell me what's working and what's not. Their job is to just say, do you like it or not? Like, what characters do you like? What plot points do you like? How's the reading experience? Like, did you enjoy it? Were you bored? Are there parts where you felt like a character did something that was super out of character and not believable? Like, how did you feel throughout? How did you feel about the pacing? That kind of thing. So because I know that and they know that and we've all talked about this, I know that I can't fault them for like not thinking like writers, but they're also like, they're my friends. So they're very like, we want to help you. Like, what do you need? And I am like, well, what I need is like, I know what's not working. Like, I know that my opening and my closing are not strong enough as far as the very first scene and the very last scene. They're fine, but they're not strong enough and they're not serving the purpose that I want them to serve. And I went in to like explain that. And I was like, does anyone have ideas? And it was just kind of, it's just like crickets. And then I get upset because I'm just like, I know that you are not a writer. So this is not how your brain is thinking when it's going like reading this, and that's fine. So I honestly would rather you just not ask me what I want or what I need from you because you can't give it to me. Like, I'd rather you just go with the checklist that I already gave you and only answer that checklist, and like, let's just not even bother to have a conversation about anything else. But now that I'm saying this out loud, I did not say this to them. Like, I just kept saying, oh, well, here's what I need, here's what I'm thinking. And then they were reacting to it in ways that did not make a whole lot of sense, primarily because they didn't all read the whole book, but they also are not in my head. So like, I'm looking at it as a giant puzzle, and I'm also looking at it as the first book in a series. So there are certain things that like my beta readers will tell me, like, I feel like you went into too much detail here. I don't know that that was necessary, but for me, it's like, it was necessary because part of that detail is gonna come back later in book 2. And I just wanted to tease it and like set that up. But now in retrospect, I do wish that I had been able to say, like, I don't think this direction of conversation is productive because I really need to talk to another writer about this in particular. Like, because you guys are specifically readers, like, let's just focus on this type of feedback that you can provide. And I think it's because I feel like that's mean. Like, I feel like that would offend them, and I don't want to offend anybody. I really want them to like know that I appreciate their help and that they took the time to read my book, and I think that's really awesome, and I like totally appreciate like the bouncing of ideas and that kind of stuff. I feel like it's mean to say like, you don't have the ability to like actually do what I want you to do, and I think that's probably what stops me from like saying everything that I just said here. But then I feel like I'm like getting frustrated in the middle of the conversation with the people because I'm not strong enough to actually say what I need to say. And then since my first draft is done and I have some pretty solid notes about where I want to go in my edit, working on my second draft, I'm trying to bring in some like other goals that I was working on as well. So I'm trying to bring like some fitness stuff back in. And it's interesting because I feel like every single one of my friends is on a fitness journey of some kind right now. Everyone is going about it a different way. I have one friend that is focused on steps. I have another friend that is focused on the calorie deficit. I have one friend that is like doing the whole 9 yards of like strict diet, strict workout, like very rigid plan. And it's interesting to watch like all of the different things that people are trying to do with varying results, but also knowing that like any two people could be doing the exact same thing and would still have varying results. But I've noticed that like as I try to get back into my journey, now that I have a little more capacity to pursue something other than writing the first draft of my book, a lot of my friends have been like, oh, do you want help with XYZ? And I have to pause and filter because I know that they are asking if I want help because they've been working on it for a certain amount of time and they have seen a certain amount of success in certain areas, and so they have some knowledge there. And whenever people are like offering me help in a fitness journey, my brain is turning do you want help into you are fat, you are bad at running, you have no stamina, you eat terribly, like you need to fix everything. And like none of my friends have said that to me. And so that's another thing that like I should, in retrospect, hindsight's 2020, I should pause and say like, all she did was ask if I want help. And instead of me just saying no thanks, I should say like, hey, I actually do want help, but you asking if I want help is like triggering this negative feeling. And that's making me want to immediately say no. So I just want to get that out there so that you're aware of it and I've said it. And now that I've named it, let's move on. Like, yes, please actually help me. And this leads me into my main topic today, which is that bad communication ruins relationships. And I think it's important to try to define like, what does bad communication mean to you? I feel like because in general, a lot of women tend to be more social and more expressive when it comes to their feelings and stuff, and men tend to say less words. I feel like a lot of my girlfriends and I often complain about the men in our life about we're saying that they're bad communicators and like they don't share this and they don't share that. And I don't necessarily think that it makes sense to say that they're bad communicators as it is that they just communicate differently and we need to figure out how to understand what is being said. For example, my boyfriend responds to like 75% of the things that I say with okay. And it absolutely drives me up the wall because if okay is the only thing that I say, I'm probably mad. Like I'm angry, I'm dismissing you, I'm ending the conversation, I'm saying get out of my face, go away from me. And that's not what he's saying. He's saying, okay, like acknowledging, okay, I heard you. Okay, I get it. Okay, sure. Like not even necessarily agreeing, but just saying, okay, I heard what you said. And he's a man of very few words, so he won't often say okay and then add like his own thoughts to whatever it is unless I ask for them. And for a while, I've been like, okay, this man is shit at communicating. Like, this isn't going to work. He doesn't know how to communicate. And then I had to pull it back and be like, it's not that he is bad at communicating. It is that I am filtering his words through how I would be if I were using them. And I'm very expressive and I have a lot to say all the time. So I have a hard time relating to somebody that is more of a listener and doesn't talk as much. And so often, like I recently went on a trip and did not hear from him a whole lot. And to me, like if he's not reaching out to me, he doesn't want to talk to me because that's how I am. Like if anyone texts me and I don't respond, it is because I'm actively ignoring them. Like I might be asleep or like physically unable to get back to them. But most of the time, if you text me and you don't get a response, I'm actively ignoring you or I don't want to talk to you. And so I felt like he didn't want to talk to me because he wasn't talking to me. And he was like, you were visiting your friends. I was giving you space to do that. Which I was like, okay, but you could still text me and like I wouldn't be able to respond as quickly as I usually do because I was like at the movies or out to dinner or like doing something, but I would have responded to you when I was in the car or like when we were laying on the couch playing video games. Like I can still have conversations. But again, like we're just different in that way. And it's not even specifically him saying okay or being quiet or and me like wanting or needing more of that. It's just the fact that we can sit down and have a conversation about it. The fact that I am self-aware enough to say, hey, it really bothers me when all you say is okay, because to me, when I say okay, it's dismissive. And so it feels dismissive to me when someone else says okay. And he's like, all right, well, when I say okay, it's not dismissive. So can you train your brain to not read okay in your angry tone that you would deliver okay with, but in my like chill okay tone? And I'm like, you know what? Fair. Yes, I can do that. I recently went on a trip with my sister and she got a little frustrated with me because my flight got in before hers and I went to baggage claim instead of to her gate, because that's what she would have done. If she had had the first flight, she would have looked up my flight number, found it on the monitor, figured out what gate I was coming in at, and would have gone to wait at my gate. Mostly because I think she wanted to get something to eat at the airport, but she hadn't said any of this to me. We had just texted each other of like, hey, getting on the plane, see you when I land. And so it did not occur to me to look for her flight. I was just like, I had no idea, because I did not think to look at her flight. I had no idea if she was coming in like near my gate or if it was a completely different part of the airport. And I was like, well, we're both gonna end up at baggage claim, so because that's how we leave. So I may as well just go there, because no matter where her plane lands, like she'll get there. And so I feel like she was a little frustrated with me that I went there instead of her gate. In her defense, all of the food was at the gates, and once you exited to baggage claim, there were no food options anymore, and we were hungry. And then throughout the trip, like she was doing all of the navigating and I could sense her like getting frustrated. She's like, I feel like I'm making all the decisions. Like I'm navigating everywhere and I'm choosing everywhere that we eat. And I was like, yeah, because in my previous experiences with you, you like to be the one in charge. Like I'm not very picky. So if I go to a restaurant, there's always going to be something on the menu that I can find to eat, but you like very specifically don't want to eat pasta before a show because that makes you sleepy or whatever it is. So I'm just like, I'd rather you pick, because you find something on the menu before we even go that you want to eat, and then it won't matter to me like what I find when I get there. And it was interesting because there just were so many little like, we were getting frustrated with each other for not doing things the way that we would have done them if the roles were reversed, and just like wanting each other to read each other's minds. And that's just not like a possible thing that people can do, as much as I'm like, please read my mind. Like why don't we yet have this capability? Is somebody working on that somewhere? Because I would absolutely love to have my mind read so that you can just know how I feel and what I want, because I feel like half the time, even when I express what I want and how I feel out loud, people still don't grasp it. So I'm like, what's the point? I think that getting to know people in general is just hard. And at least for me, I think something that makes it more difficult with family is being like, okay, we all lived in the same house for 20 years. Why do we still not know how to talk to each other? And really, I think the answer is that we weren't communicating well when we were in the house for 20 years, because it was like mom and dad had final say. And like, if they got annoyed or upset, or, we didn't have to understand. There was a lot of, because I said so, go to your room, like that kind of thing. So we didn't really learn how to express and communicate our emotions. And it's like, okay, so then you start doing that with your friends and your romantic relationships. But it's another one of those things that like we don't get taught how to do. I'm sitting here like, why were we memorizing dates in school of when things happened in history, and not learning how the healthcare system works and how to be your own health advocate, or financial management, or how taxes work? Like, I feel like we're not learning the important things, and like how to communicate with people, like how to assess your own wants and needs, and then how to communicate those with other people. And of course, a great place you can learn how to do this is therapy. I will always suggest that everyone on earth go to therapy, learn about yourself, learn about others, become a better communicator. And don't be like me and just retreat back into yourself whenever you find the few people that you do communicate really well with. Even though I do feel like as we get older, our circles get smaller, and I do think that's a good thing. But I have found myself like I communicate so well with my best friends that I have a hard time letting new people in, because I'm like, I don't want to do this. I want to just skip to the part where we already know each other. And a lot of times I will, like, if I get off the phone with like one of my best friends and then like a less close friend or a newer friend like calls and there's like difficulty and a lot of miscommunication, and maybe we talked about like the same topic, I am just like, all right, I'm going to continue to just call bestie for that. I'm not even going to bother with you because I don't have the energy. And I feel like that's how like a lot of my new friends end up, like I don't keep them around as long because I am like, I stop going to them because I want to go to the person that is going to respond in a way that makes me feel heard, that makes me feel seen, that makes me feel loved. But like, that's a lot of responsibility for one person, and you gotta like spread the love. And I do want to like meet, well, I was gonna say I do want to meet new people. I don't know how true that is. I don't like meeting new people. It gives me anxiety. But this leads into my hard conversation this week because I just came out of a weekend trip with two of my very best friends that I've known for a very long time. And they're just like my favorite people on the entire planet. And it was just like a straight 3 days of laughing and like enjoying each other, getting to know each other even better. And there was no like, what do you mean by that? What are you trying to say? It was just straight, like I would say something and my friend would repeat back, okay, so what I'm hearing is this, and this is what you're feeling, and this is the issue. And I'd be like, yes, exactly. And they're like, okay, so here's what my advice. Or they would ask like some follow-up questions. And I'm like, why can't everybody just talk to me like you? So anyway, I come out of this weekend and then like I call my boyfriend and I'm having another conversation where like I'm telling him about my weekend and he's going, okay, cool. Glad you had a good weekend. And I'm like, oh my God, clearly, like, you know what? Clearly you don't want to talk about my weekend, so never mind. Bye. And I just like hang up on him and I'm mad. And then we're like texting back and forth and he's like, you know, you seem kind of upset, like what's going on? And I'm like, when you don't give me anything back, I feel like you don't care. And he's like, of course I care. Like I'm listening. Like I like to listen to you. I enjoy the sound of your voice. I'm learning about what you care about. And we had to go back and forth for a bit where I was like, okay, you're learning about what I care about, but I'm not learning about what you care about because you don't have any words and you're like not sharing anything with me. And it's like, he like paused and thought about it and was like, okay, like, yeah, that makes sense. And so it's like, that's something that he has to practice, of like saying more and sharing more. And so it's funny because as he's like trying to learn how to do this, he does send me some random ass shit that's just like, I'm hungry. And I'm like, I don't care. I'm not with you right now. We're not going to eat together tonight. Like I can't do anything about your hunger. Like why are you telling me? But like always want to give him positive encouragement whenever he shares anything. But the point of this is not even what he's learning about me and what I'm learning about him. It's the fact that we were on the phone and I wanted him to respond in a certain way and he wasn't doing it. So I just got upset and got off the phone and then was like, all right, we got to break up because we're not a good match. And, you know, being able to pause in that feeling and not make a decision and just reach out to him again and say like, hey, this conversation really upset me. And here's why. Like, I'm really looking for you to respond in a certain way because the way that you are responding right now does not make me feel like you care about me. It doesn't make me feel like you're interested in what I have to say. It doesn't make me feel like you're even interested in talking to me or you want to hear anything. And that's why like I just hang up the phone. And then for him to respond and be like, I'm totally interested in everything that you say all the time. Like I absolutely want you to keep talking, and I want to hear about your life, and I want to know about your friends, and I want to know what you did this weekend. And I'm like, okay, you saying that right now, that's what I need you to say on the phone. Like, more than like me telling you I went to the movies and you saying okay, like, ask me what movie I saw and what I liked about it and why I had such a good time. Like, ask me to tell you about more about these friends that you know are my favorite people in the whole entire world, because that's going to help you learn me better. And it's really just about like having the ability, I think, to do that with anybody. And we even got into like a deeper conversation about how like my sisters and I are all people pleasers and just raised little perfectionists we were. And so we really struggle with like, if I'm way more willing to have conflict than my sisters are, but with certain people, I'm not really willing to have conflict with my parents, for example. So a lot of times, like if I'm talking to my parents and the conversation is like going in a direction where like we really disagree or are going to butt heads, I will start to just say, okay, just to agree with them. It's not, okay, I heard you. It's okay. Yeah, you're right. Sure. But I obviously say it more convincingly, but I'm just like, okay. And I don't really offer anything back. And that's because I don't trust them to hold my disagreeing. And I don't think that it's going to be productive if we disagree on the thing. And I don't want to go deeper with it. I just want to move on to the next topic. And so I was able to like tell my boyfriend that. I was like, I think when you say, okay, I'm also feeling that. Like, I'm feeling like you don't want to hear more and you don't want to share more because either there's like a lack of trust here. Like, is that what's happening? And a lot of the time he's like, no, that's not what's happening. Like, our brains are just very different and we process things very, very, very differently. And a lot of the time I get super frustrated and I'm just like, this is not worth the time. I don't want to keep working at this. I don't want to keep explaining things to you. And so it was really helpful for me to like talk to my best friend who's been in a relationship for 12 years that was like, that's never going to end. Like, if you want to be in a romantic relationship, you're going to have to keep having conversations like this over and over and over. He's like, of course it will get easier. But like you do have to do it. So it's just kind of like, do I even want a boyfriend? I ask myself this frequently. I'm so sorry. But yeah, I think the conversation was hard because I was scared that like I was going to give up. I honestly went into the conversation, when I started the conversation to say like, hey, like that conversation we had on the phone just really upset me and here's why. I went into that with the mentality of like, I'm going to break up with you because I don't like this and I'm over it. And I tried to like hold that back for later. And then as we continued the conversation and like actually understood where the other one was coming from and what they were trying to say, I was like, oh, I don't have to break up with you. It's fine. Which actually it's fine because he is the most patient man in the world. Which I really need. I'm super impatient. I have none. So that at least balances out. But I think that is why a lot of people don't have hard conversations. It's like the fear that the conversation is going to break the relationship. And I think ultimately that is what the mark of a healthy or a good relationship is. It's not that you don't ever disagree. It's that you figure out how to disagree and how to move past it. And it's like the way that you move forward in the future. I'm currently obsessed with Netflix's new reality series, Age of Attraction, because there's like another one of those reality dating shows, but they're looking to answer the question, like, is age really just a number? And I think it's been really fascinating to watch all these people with giant age gaps in their relationships to say like, yeah, age really is not the issue. Communication is. And like communication doesn't matter how old or young you are. Like communicating is hard. And communication is the number one thing that makes or breaks a relationship. And it's can you communicate? Like, are you able to explain how you feel about things, how you think? And are you willing to, if you say something and the other person is like immediately offended, are you able to pause and say, hey, I wasn't trying to offend you, but I see that you're offended. Can you tell me more about that? And then maybe it's because there's something that happened in their past and you said a trigger word or like whatever it is. And like they're able to work through that and be like, oh, okay, you didn't mean that. awesome, and then just move forward and go eat your lunch or whatever's next. I know it's shocking that I've been watching a reality show because I hate reality TV, but I am like really sucked into this one. In terms of other things that I'm watching right now, I think I told you guys about Project Hail Mary last week. I saw Undertone, which I didn't like. All of the other critics absolutely hated it and said it's absolutely the worst movie of the year. So I would not recommend paying any money to see Undertone. If you really want to see it, I would stream that. Also saw Reminders of Him, which I thought it was fine. I rated it 2.5 out of 5. Like it's an average movie. It has a beginning, middle, and an end. I loved the book. I'm a huge fan of the book. The movie I just thought was fine. I like sobbed all through the book, and I had like one glistening tear in the movie, and that disappointed me. If you're a huge Colleen Hoover fan or a fan of anybody, any of the actors in the movie, I still would stream it. I would not pay money for that either. Hoppers, I would absolutely pay money for. I would pay money to see Hoppers in the theater 16 times. That movie was amazing. So good. Thanks for listening. If you made it to the end of the episode, please send me an email at realhonestpod@gmail.com and let me know a hard conversation that you have had in the past couple weeks. What are you learning about communication? Any tips or tricks that you have found that have made friendships, romantic relationships, familial relationships, work relationships better? Or if you have a particularly challenging one that you're like, I don't know what to do or how to talk to this person, I'm just at a loss, like, please let me know. Let's talk about it.
I'm not here to sugarcoat, life's already a bumpy road. Too much shelter causes pain, let's just be real honest. Things are gonna knock you down, avoidance will not help you out. Let's talk it through, hear me and you, let's keep it real honest.